Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. I'm looking forward to connecting with you today, Friday afternoon. I'm just getting my chat set up. So let me make sure that I can see you and see your comments. And let me see who's here. So if you're joining, I'm Karen Williams. So good to see you Friday afternoon. Woohoo! Lockdown. I imagine that you're all coming from lockdown at some point in the country. It's very difficult and challenging at the moment, isn't it? I know that Melbourne are facing, we're in our 6th lockdown. Sydney have been in lockdown for a lot of days. I think, I don't know how many. Someone let me know how many days. Someone told me earlier and I couldn't remember. But it's a tough time, isn't it? And so I thought we'd have this bonus session for August. I usually do monthly sessions for on a Friday morning early. But I thought, why not get together again this afternoon and connect, have a conversation, and I'll share some things with you, and hopefully that will support you going into your weekend, how to feel empowered, how to feel connected when there's so many challenges going on around us, whether that's personal challenges because we're living and working from home with kids and family, whether that's work challenges because we're in lockdown and out of lockdown, and all those sorts of things, managing teams. There's lots going on. If you're flipping in your business to what it looks like not in lockdown to what it looks like in lockdown, it's very different. So we've all got our own stories, don't we, about how challenging this time is. So I really appreciate you being here and look forward to hopefully giving you a little bit of sunshine in your Friday afternoon, whether that's something that I say, something that you see in the chat box that someone else has shared, something that's inspiring to you, I hope. So I'm just want to find my chat box. Here we go. So can someone please type in the chat box and let me know that you're here? Fabulous. Thanks, Natalie. So that I know when I'm managing the technology, it doesn't always go to plan, but it will today. Happy Friday to you, Anne, as well. Thanks, Vicky. Thank you. Hi, Michael. Nice to see you. Welcome, everyone. And last night I put this together and just sent it out thinking there'll be probably a few people who might want to jump on. Well, I've been overwhelmed. And Natalie, my amazing team member, has been overwhelmed too. And we really appreciate you jumping on board and connecting with each other and us here today so that, we can support each other. I've been working with a lot of leaders and teams in this last few weeks, and a lot of emotion, a lot of confusion, a lot of heaviness about how we keep moving forward when it feels like the next day just rolls into the next day, rolls into the next day. The next snack rolls into the next snack, rolls into the next snack. How do we, break those snacks up so that it's not one constant snack that we're in when we're in lockdown? I have those challenges too. So hello, Helen, lovely to see you. Natalie, nice to see you. Jazz. So thank you so much for letting me know that you're here. Please feel free to keep sharing in the chat box. This is a conversation I'd love to have with you today. And so I'll share a little bit to kick the conversation off, but then I'd love to hear your questions and comments as well. Nadine, hello, lovely to see you. And thank you for being here. For those of you I haven't met, because I know a lot of people have shared with their teams today that have encouraged them to jump on, and maybe we haven't met. So I'm Karen Williams. I'm a transformational coach. I've been doing this work for about 20 years, which is a privilege, and I'm fascinated by what I do, and I love what I do every single day, even in these challenging times. We work, my team and I, we get to work with leaders and teams, helping them have the tough conversations, helping them lead better together, and helping them collaborate. And so it's really exciting to me to have these conversations with people who are doing the work, because it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to actually practice and do it. And if you're doing that work, then you know that it's a challenge. And these conversations that I have are with people who are doing the work. So I encourage you to grab your notebook and your pen and see if you can hear something today that you can take away and implement immediately to get a different result, because it can happen like that. It doesn't have to take time. It just takes conscious effort for us to implement something new and be willing to sometimes get off our own ego just for a moment so we can try something. And even if it's something that we already know, you've heard it before, maybe have a think about, but am I actually doing that? So welcome. If we haven't met, it's great to see you and connect with you. And if you know me, if I know you, if we've been connected before, if we've worked together, I love that you're here. So I acknowledge you for continuing to do the work, for continuing to show up and lead by example, to dig in, be brave, be courageous, and look for your next step, your next area of awareness, whether that's in your personal life, in your relationships, in your well-being, or in your professional life around leading teams or collaborating across with your peers, or maybe managing up with your leader or your manager. So I honor you and acknowledge you for doing this work. I've been doing this work on myself for a long time. And, you know, it gets easier, but doesn't mean that there's not things that still get in the way. And I've had a few of those myself this month, and times where I've just gone, oh, this is really hard. And, you know, the other day when I had my big cry, you know, however many cries we have a day or a week, it doesn't matter, right? But I hadn't had one for a few weeks, and it was a good feeling to let it all go. So who else have we got today? Hi, Jazz. Nice to see you. So pleased that you're here as well. Marlene, thank you for being here. So many amazing people inspiring me on this call. Thank you. Catherine, nice to see you. And if you would like to, if this is an invitation for everyone on the call, if you make sure that in your, when you're sharing in the chat box, that you change it to all attendees so that everyone can see you. So panelists and attendees is a great way for you to see each other's comments and to have some great conversation. And when I'm reading out a comment or reading a comment, you can be reading it too. And there'll be things that someone shares that you'll relate with, that you'll go, oh, how do they know I'm feeling this too? Or someone might share something about their own experience that really connects for you and helps you connect with something within inside yourself. So one thing that I do ask, that you don't offer advice to anyone. So advice can be very cheap when it's about this work. What really makes a difference is sharing from your own experience. Yeah. So in the chat box, if you share from your own experience, because it's really powerful and your story is extremely powerful and be valuable for others, rather than trying to fix it or make it better or advise or give advice to others. So we're walking together on this journey and honoring each other's experiences. And that's what I call integrity of the space. So I'd love you to share your experience. All right, so Mish, hi, from Queensland, I think now, Gold Coast maybe. Lovely to see you. Melina, thank you for being here. Nice to meet you too. And excellent. So what I thought I would do in a moment, I've got some questions here from our other events. We have monthly events. Check them out on our YouTube channel if you'd like to see any previous events. So I thought I'd answer a couple of questions that I haven't gotten to before from previous events. And I'd also want to share with you some of the things that I've been doing lately that might support you in managing your, not only your physical well-being, but your mental well-being and your emotional health. One of the things that we don't pay a lot of attention to is our emotional well-being. And for a long time early on in my career, when I worked in the corporate world, I would just stuff those things down, you know, just like, who needs those emotions? Who needs those feelings? Yeah, they belong in a box somewhere in some dark closet. So I did that for, 20 years or something like that. And I thought I would get away with it because I didn't know any different. I just worked hard, solidly, achieved, and got promoted and got looked at as someone who would get stuff done. And I remember one time when my manager brought me in to deliver a presentation on a project, one of the projects I was managing. And then he said at the end, and here's another project for you. And I burst out into tears when I got back into his office. I'm like, there's so many other people you could be giving this to. Why are you giving it to me? I'm already full, right? And he said to me, we give these things to you because we know you're capable. And if you're someone who is like that, which I imagine that you are, work hard, care a lot, you'll probably find a lot of things come your way. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming. And whether that's personally, you're the rock of the family or someone who holds it all together for everyone, or whether that's at work when everyone looks to you and relies on you to maybe solve their problems or have advice or, give them clear direction, you might find yourself just taking more and more on. And at some point that dam's going to break, isn't it? And then you'll need to have your cry or you'll need to reset. And so if that's happening for you at the moment, then I hear you. It's normal, it's human. So many people I'm working with at the moment are feeling that way. But what can be extremely helpful is, rather than put those feelings and emotions over in a dark closet in a box, is that we actually learn how to feel them and acknowledge them and to move through them. And so I'm going to draw on the board today, so hopefully you can see this. what I find with people that I work with and human beings in general is that here's our feelings, right? And our emotions. Can you see that? I think you can. Let me know if you can't. Natalie, I will attempt to write much better today. What we do is, yes, you can see it. Thanks, Anne. Is as human beings, we go, it'll be right, it'll be right, it'll be right. And we put these things away in a box. We don't really know how to feel them. We think that they're too powerful or something's wrong with us if we have feelings and emotions. So we keep operating over the top of, holding it all together, right? And we think that that's going to get us where we want to go. But then we have those moments where, burnout or, maybe an emotional collapse, or we just get full up and, we just can't take anything more on and we withdraw. Yeah. None of those states are our natural empowered state. They're states of stress and survival. And it's because we haven't moved through our feelings and emotions. And if you work with me one-on-one in a deep dive, you know this. So this is a refresh for you, right? So we're going to move through our feelings and emotions. Name them, feel them, process them. And I was actually having a conversation with someone today about we can feel like we're going to get stuck here. So if we're angry or sad, we're like, I'm not going to feel that because I'm going to get stuck here. And I don't know if I'm going to get out of that pity party if I let myself go there. And so that's the misconception. It's the myth of emotion and feeling. And same with leaders when they're managing their people. Sometimes as leaders, or often, we can not go there with our people because we think we're all going to get stuck in that hole. And so leaders just stay back and kind of give instructions and fire off solutions and solve their people's problems because they don't ever want to go near this area. But what we've learned, it's very clear for us, especially through this pandemic, especially when emotions are heightened, we can no longer afford to ignore those things. We've got to learn new skills. Emotional intelligence is around intelligence around our emotions. And if we're not giving ourselves space to feel our own emotions, how are we ever going to hold that space of emotional intelligence for someone else to break through what's stopping them into new levels of performance, right? So we've got to move through these feelings and emotions, and the wisdom is underneath. The wisdom, this beautiful place within you, is actually your wisdom, and more resources are in you already. And it's about, they're just hiding. They're hiding in that box that's in the closet, right? You've got to get that box out, get your feelings and emotions going, because right underneath that is clarity. That's where your true, authentic confidence lives, right? So I work with so many people who are waiting for the confidence. This may be you, waiting to be more confident before I do X, Y, Z, before I have that conversation, before I go for the next job, before I put my hand up for something. We're waiting for the confidence, yeah. But the confidence is already within you, and that's what we don't often know. It's just hiding underneath all this stuff. So if you can start to develop the skills to feel through your emotions, and all it takes is courage and a bit of guidance, right? If you can do that, then you'll find this place of wisdom and clarity and confidence within you. And then you can start to build that self-trust and use that to step forward. Yeah, is this good so far? I hope this is helping you. All right. So the Thrive XM 2020 Index, one of the the main contributor to that, there's three. One of them is Ariana Huffington, which you may know of from Thrive Global and Huffington Post. Fabulous. Okay, speaking to my soul, Mish says, yes. And so that I would highly recommend getting your hands on that, download that PDF. So if you look up Thrive XM Index 2020, you'll probably find it if you Google that. And it's in 2019, the first ever study to examine the full range of employee experience and on business outcomes. And so what that means is, what they measured was employee well-being. How does that impact business results? It's a fantastic survey, lots of great data there, and amazing companies that contributed to that survey. And one of the statements is that people are the most important resource for the long-term survival of any business. I'm just reading the comment here, which is why companies that thrive and succeed prioritize well-being of their people. So now we're moving into this space, aren't we, of this conversation for well-being and sustaining our well-being, because no longer can we just keep pushing. We're, all at some point of exhaustion. And having experienced burnout when I was 30, there's no way that I'll ever go back there. And, there's times I've come close again, but I've learned and gathered that wisdom along the way. And I'm hoping to share some of that with you today and as we go forward in our relationship and connection together, whatever that looks like. And so while my work is about training and educating leaders and managers around difficult conversations, developing their coaching skills, how to be more self-aware, what I love most about what I do and my team and I do is that we provide and facilitate experiences where people get to be who they really are, get to connect with who they really are, and then grow through that. They're transformative experiences that are unique and rare. Have a think about the last time that you felt truly heard by someone, that someone was so present with you that you felt so gotten and so heard. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm gauging how much I'm going to share depending on how present that person is. So I'll say a little bit and then I'm like, am I really here? Because, do I want to be courageous and vulnerable and say a bit more? And so often we calibrate to what we think is going on with people with us as to whether we will reveal a little bit more of ourselves, right? And usually we hold all that back. But again, we're just stuffing that down and not being our full selves. And so what we provide is the spaces for experience so that you can connect with yourself. And I hope to provide that for you today so that you can connect with that wisdom. All right, very cool. Excellent. Thank you, Jazz. Good job. She's onto it. I love that and love this community. Thank you. All right, so less information, more conversation. Yeah. And I actually be like I'm having a conversation with you anyway. So whether you speak or not in the chat box today or over the mic, whether you speak or not, it doesn't matter. I'm relating to you here as if we're having a conversation. Yeah. And I'm speaking directly to you. So hopefully it connects and touches you. And then less soldiering on and more listening and questions for all of us, right? Less guarding up and pushing through, which we sometimes have to do, but on an ongoing basis, over time, it doesn't work. It will come back and bite us, won't it? We've all had that experience. So how do I stay well and healthy, holistically, while in this kind of chaos and whirlwind of confusion and uncertainty, not knowing what's happening for me even tomorrow or the next day? How do I protect my family? How do I keep my family safe? So there's all of those real challenges, and there's who I am, you, as you show up to those challenges, yeah? And if you can start to cultivate a little bit more of well-being and self-care within yourself, holistically, mentally, emotionally, and physically, relationally, financially, if you can start to look at where are those areas where I could start to tweak a little bit that will help me show up in the way that I really want to for my family and for my team, my organization, then that's going to allow you to sustain that level of activity and performance that you know that you need to be able to sustain. Yeah. So that's what this conversation is about today. All right. So I'd love to hear your comments or reflections so far and what it is that maybe you really want to work on today. What's the one thing that's really key for you? So I'm going to put up here. I hope that's why you're here too. Hope you're in the right place. That's why you jumped in. All right, some great sharing. When I'm thinking about what I can and can't say safely with an individual, I only show up partially, yes. And we seem to loop on conversations that are stagnant rather than being heartfelt. Oh, fantastic share, Vicky. Yeah, so I'm worried about how they're going to respond and if it's safe for me here, then actually I'm in my head worrying about what I'm saying and we're just going around and around and around. I totally get that. And so where I love to work is in the space of self-trust. So when we talk about emotional safety or psychological safety at work and calling out toxic behavior or where behavior is not aligning to values, that's really important to be able to speak our voice around that in a healthy way. And also, while we also do the work on self-trust so that we can connect with ourselves and know, what do I really want to say here that's true for me, rather than wait for it to be safe out there and therefore I hold myself back. Yeah, there's a combination of both of those things. It's important that we feel safe and judge for ourselves what we want to share, while we also cultivate self-trust and take responsibility for creating safety and connection with ourselves. Yeah, because that's where the wisdom and the guidance really is. So beautiful share, Vicky. Thank you. All right, so the well-being wheel that you've seen potentially on other, I thought it was worth touching base on that today, because I want you to choose an area where you might be able to go from a 2 to a 3 or a 6 to a 7 in your taking care of your well-being. So let's do this, and we'll move through this quite quickly, and then I want to hear your comments and shares, and then we'll have a conversation. So my well-being wheel, this is you in the middle, right? Which I developed over a period of time after experiencing ill health for quite a long time. And I did lots of things physically to get well, like eat the right food and exercise and all of that, but I still stayed really unwell until I worked out my formula for myself. So I'll share this with you. And again, it'll be a refresh for some of you. But let's see what you can hear that's new, right? I don't know about you, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTube videos, and often I'll listen to the same things over and again, different books over again, and I'm always getting something new. It's because I'm new in the moment, right? So you're fresh here new today. If you've seen this before, challenge yourself to find something new. So this is you, right? So what I believe makes up our holistic well-being is the practice of connection with ourselves. And so what I advocate for is meditation, even if it's 5 minutes a day. Yeah, time in nature, meditation and breath, time in nature, and finding that place of alignment in ourselves. I'm hoping you can read that, but I'll read it out as we go. And so as we go through these, rate yourself out of 10, just as a simple activity, right? Where am I in my connection, cultivating that connection with myself, especially, you know, when I'm facing the same people every day in lockdown? It's like, oh, you again, right? So we've got to, or if you're on your own, like I live by myself, it's like, oh, me again, right? Looking around, anyone else? No, me again, right? So how do I get out of my head and cultivate that connection within myself? So rate yourself out of 10. It might not be meditation right now. It might be walks in nature. But when you go for a walk, do you allow yourself to breathe? Give space to that. Listen to the birds, listen to the water, or watch the grass. Yeah. Just time out of the incessant noise coming at you. So connection with self is the source of everything in my work, right? Then it's the quality of our relationships. So I don't know about you, but in the past, I would look to my relationships to find happiness. One, you know, half plus a half equals 1. That's the 50-50 dance. If you want to read about that, you'll see that on my website. And the 50-50 dance is like, you do your bit, I'll do my bit, and it should all turn out. It's a formula for failure in relationship. Relationship is about, can I bring my full self to this? If I'm coming to this relationship to get something from you, whether that's professional or personal relationship, we're in trouble. Yeah. So what can I bring to the relationship? But I can only do that for busy mums and dads out there. I can only do that if I'm cultivating this. Yeah. All right. So then the next 2, so out of 10, and then the next 2, nutrition and movement. How am I feeding myself in this lockdown? That was a challenge for me in our first lockdown in Melbourne. So for 3 months, I overloaded on carbohydrates because I wasn't doing the same amount of exercise. And then about 3 months in, there was this body that I didn't recognize. I'm like, where did that come from? It was fine for a few months until it just exploded. So I've learnt. So if you're in Sydney and maybe you're going, or Queensland, and you're going through lockdowns, longer lockdowns that may be unfamiliar for you, and certainly I don't say that I know everything about how to deal with lockdown, absolutely not. But maybe looking at your nutrition, making sure you're taking care of that, even if it's only 5 out of 7 days, or 4.5 out of 7 days, but you know, keep it balanced if you can. And so what am I enjoying what I'm eating? Am I enjoying what I'm cooking? Am I putting love into my food? How am I experiencing that with my family? Beautiful leader shared with me earlier today, we've made a commitment to, you know, be present with ourselves and each other when we eat. So what's that out of 10 for you at the moment? And then movement. What does it feel like? Am I enjoying how I'm moving? Now we're in lockdown. There's restrictions. We can't go to the gym. We can't go to our favorite places. We can't go dance. So what can you do at home? Can you dance at home? Maybe. For me, I love to swim in the cold water, which I love to do. Did that yesterday morning. Amazing. And then box. My neighbour and I are boxing out in the driveway. So it works. It's not ideal, but what's the movement? What are you out of 10 for yourself? This is not a comparative rating. What's everyone else doing? What should I be doing compared to what others are doing? It's like, what do I feel satisfied with? Yeah. Right now, I want to be a 7, let's say, and I'm a 5. Okay, great. Can you work towards being a 6? You don't have to be 10 in everything. I'm not about work-life balance, especially in this time. I'm about conscious choice. Yeah. Is this helping? Let me know if this is helping. All right. And then we want to do the last 2, which is community, support around you, and contribution. All right. So where are you at in those 2 areas? So arrows out now. These are arrows in, taking care of myself. These are arrows out. I want to make a contribution, even if I'm contributing to my kids and sitting and reading them a book at night, or I'm contributing to my neighbour, or I'm contributing to my family. What does that look like for you in lockdown? It's going to be very different, isn't it? Yeah. And so it might be meeting people halfway somewhere and going for a walk, if that's a contribution for you. Yeah. And who are the support networks around you, especially when we have challenging relationships at home, or if we live on our own? What's our community that we're tapping into? Yeah. And also, if you're living with the same people and working with the same people every day, if we're stuck home with our family and kids, stuck home, is that fair to say? Maybe we feel stuck sometimes, but are you reaching out to your broader network? Yeah. So what is that out of 10 for you as well? And then the last piece is around money and fulfillment. And so I'm sharing all of this with you because for me, this is what is holistic well-being. This is what I discovered for myself over a long period of not being able to feel well and learning for myself what well-being was about. So take from this what you will. Money is, well, how do I feel at the moment out of 10? Now, we might not have a lot of control for ourselves because there's so many things that are, with lockdown out of our control about whether we can do business or not, or what our state of employment is, right? So as I said, this does not need to be balanced. We're not looking for 10 in everything. We're just going, you know what, right now, I can't control this piece. I'm not going to focus on it. I'm going to focus on the things that I can control. This is not about perfection. Yeah. One of the areas that's always challenging for me is community. I've always been someone who's kind of done my alone thing, right? And now I'm really challenging that in my life because I want more love, more fun, more adventure in my life. Yeah. And so it's something that I'm working on. That's always been quite low in my life. Yeah. For a long time, let's say. So there's going to be areas that are low in your life, and it's okay. It's about conscious choice. Yep, I get that. That's where that is for me right now. And now, do I want to actually invest any time or focus in that? Or am I happy with that right now? I'm going to focus in other areas. Yep. And then fulfillment. What are my hobbies or creative expressions that I can engage with right now that might help me feel more fulfilled? One of the things I love to do is write. And when I'm not writing because I'm doing many other things like you are, then I can feel it, that when we're not connected with something that we love to do, and it feels like there's this emptiness or this grating in me. And so last night when I sat down to write the invitation to you for today, that felt really good for me because I was, it was a piece of writing that I enjoyed doing. Yep. So make sure that you give yourself a bit of a rating out of 10 and just choose one area that you want to work on. And so for me, I'm actually going to focus in this area over the next couple of weeks. So I want to do more writing and going to make some time and space for myself to do that. Okay. All right. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What area are you going to work on? What's helpful? What are you taking to the next level from 3 to 4, not to 10. It doesn't have to be that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So let me see. All right. Nicola has raised her hand, I believe. And Nicola, I'm going to open the mic for you to have a chat. Maybe you've got a question or something you'd like to share. Nicola, hi. Would you like to share? Or was that an accident that you put your hand up? Hang on, let me see if I can open your mic. I think I've asked you to unmute. Maybe it doesn't work for you to unmute. Okay, cool. Let's see. All right. Let me hear, what are your comments, please? Definitely nutrition for me. Yeah, particularly lockdown 5 and now 6. Yep. Yeah, number 6 lockdown. Yes. What else have you got? What else would you like to work on that you got from this wellbeing wheel? And Claudia says, I want to work the meditation and nature. I need to connect. Yes. And so all meditation takes is a stop and a breathe. Yeah, I'm doing meditation with some amazing people this week. And the biggest challenge is this sitting on the couch, sitting on the floor, on our mat, wherever you meditate, on our chair. That's the hardest part, is getting from not there to there. Once we're there and close our eyes and start to breathe, it can become such a beautiful experience that we don't want to leave. And so if you can just, this is for all of us, if we can just find those moments where it's like, oh, you know, just got to get past that bit, and then dropping into that space is really beautiful. See, Kathy, awesome. Thanks for letting us know. All good. So what else? The 2 weeks, the 2 areas for me are more meditation and my crocheting, left from last year's. So Marlene, that's awesome, because I have another person that joins these webinars sometimes every month. She does some beautiful crocheting too. And I love that. All right. So I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear if you've got any questions or anything else that you'd like to share. Otherwise, I am going to move into some questions that we haven't answered before. But also today, remember, was a conversation that I wanted you to come with your questions as well. So let me know if you've got a question about how do I go deeper? Yeah, but Karen, this is all well and good. But what if I've got, you know, all these people grabbing at me? How do I do this? What does that look like? You know, or how do I get to it from a 6 to a 7? What would you suggest? So any questions like that are welcome. All right, so breaking it down, let me see. Breaking it down like this to prioritize what to focus on really helps. Yes. Yeah, very good, Anne. And so if we're experiencing overwhelm in anything coming at us, whether that's, you can see deadlines lining up, or, okay, switching to lockdown again, coming out of lockdown, you know, those things that we feel like a train coming toward us. Overwhelm comes from looking too far ahead without having the clarity. And so what always makes a difference is coming back to presence, coming back to right now, taking a few pause moments. That's always going to, if we can practice that like a discipline, like a way of being, it's going to help start to move that overwhelm away from us. Yeah, it's going to almost like dissipate and disappear, feel like mist. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I tend to avoid focusing on the more difficult areas. Of course, yep, totally. We all do that. I relate your experience with community. This is really motivating me. Yeah, beautiful. I love that, Kate. Thank you so much for sharing. I guess we need to switch off from routine problems and nurture from, yeah, meditation or something like that. Yes. And sometimes, like if we haven't meditated before, trying to meditate, unless you're really, really committed, it can be challenging. So having self-compassion, let's head this up with self-compassion, right? Is so important. Being gentle with ourselves. You might like to take a pause moment now. Let's just close our eyes for a moment and take a breath. Doesn't take long, does it, to connect? And if you're able to just give yourself that moment, perfect. And it can be the difference between, you know, reaction and then criticizing ourselves for reacting badly, and then over-analyzing that for a few days, thinking of all the things we should or shouldn't have done. Yeah. But if we can stop, pause, and then breathe, gives us that moment, a circuit breaker. Yep. All right, so let me have a look at some of these questions that I'd like to look at. We're talking about one of the webinars we did in the past was the trigger train, and it's been a really powerful tool for many people, catching ourselves when we're triggered and how soon do we catch ourselves. Yeah. Okay, I'm now triggered and I'm now reacting, and I can hear myself reacting. What do I do? How do I get out of that? That can be tough when they're right down the middle of it, right? And so the trigger train analogy is, how do we get off that train sooner? How do we catch ourselves in our triggers sooner? Now, the first way of doing that is this work. Because if I'm connected with how I'm feeling in any moment, I'm going to know sooner when I'm triggered. Yeah. And so we had a couple of questions around triggers. And one of them is, what if you can recognize that this might be your question. What if you can recognize that you've been triggered and you've identified why, but you still want to address the situation that triggered you? Suggestions on next steps, please. So I love these questions. So, okay, I've got the awareness that I'm triggered. And okay, now I know why I'm triggered. And I'm doing the work to get off the trigger train sooner. But what do I now do about those behaviors that are not okay in my world? And so this is a great question that speaks to boundaries, doesn't it? But not boundaries like, I'm going to put my guard up. I want to be really clear about boundaries. Boundaries are a conversation. Because if I've got boundaries, but I don't let you know what they are, or expectations, or what's okay and not okay, and I don't actually communicate or be explicit about those, but then when you cross them, that's when I react and project onto you, then that's not me being in my full power, is it? That's not me being a leader, an emotionally intelligent leader. That's me being a reactive leader, or someone who shows up in leadership, whether you've got direct reports or not, doesn't matter, you're still a leader, yes? And so this great question about, well, how do I now deal with what triggered me? And the way that we do that is we make sure that we've let go our trigger, or we've got back off the trigger train. Yeah. So we're in a state of alignment. Well, how do we know we're in a state of alignment? We only know we're in a state of alignment when we know what that feels like. And the way to do that is this work, connection work. Yeah. If I know what it feels like to be cold, I know what it feels like to be warm, right? But if I know what it feels like to be aligned, I know what it feels like when I'm off, when I'm not aligned. And then once I know that, I can come back to alignment, and then I can have that conversation. Because if I try and call out that behavior that's not okay from a place of not being aligned and projecting, or maybe even being toxic in my reaction, I'm not toxic, but maybe my reaction and then the dynamic that's playing out becomes toxic, that's not going to serve me or them, is it? So if we can come back to our space of alignment, that's where we'll find our clarity. And that's when we can have a conversation and say, when this happened, this wasn't okay by me. Yeah. When you did this, this is how it felt for me. I really want to check in with you and find out if that's your expectation of where we should be in our behavior. Or do you feel that that behavior aligns with our values? So there's so many conversations we can have there from a place of alignment, because we're owning our experience and then calling it out, rather than making it their problem that we had that experience. Yeah. It's very distinct, although it sounds very similar. Yeah. It's the nuance of emotional intelligence that allows us to call out what's not okay, but doing it in a way that we're fully present and holding our own space and being powerful in our own space, but we're not being powerful over people. You guys with me? All right. So Natalie's got a question. So there's some more questions coming in. Okay, let me just have a quick read. Yes, there are many apps to help us calm and breathe, so many, Headspace, all of those. Yep. Any tips? And so, but here's a distinction I want to make though, Claudia, I think that was you that wrote that. I'm not interested in the conversation for calming down as a way of fixing things. Absolutely coming back to presence and alignment and calm, state of calmness, but it doesn't mean that we dismiss our feelings and our reactions. We can learn from those, yeah? So just want to make sure that we're clear on that. That's maybe what you meant as well, but just want to make sure that I'm clear on what I'm sharing here. Carly says, any tips on how to virtually help our team when they are triggered? So Carly, do you mean triggered in the moment, or they already come and they're triggered? And so either way though, absolutely. And comes back to this point that I made earlier today, which is experience over information. So I'm conducting a lot of restorative processes and restorative experiences for people at the moment for this very reason, because people are triggered a lot in this uncertainty and change. Yes. And so the restorative experiences are where I hold space for people. We set up the foundations of the space, and it starts with a meditation and an invitation for people to lean in and creating a safe space where people feel safe to close their eyes. Yeah, it's actually an experience of being with people rather than trying to talk people out of their triggers or convince them it's okay or try and make them feel better. None of that works. It just has them go and lock their feelings away in a box in a dark closet. And then they're going to, like we said before, try and just operate over. And at some point, they're just going to either explode or implode or burn out or some version of that. Yes. And so helping our people virtually, it doesn't matter whether we're virtually or together. I want you guys to know this. We can support each other virtually just as well. It's just a skill and something to practice and learn. So all the conversations I'm having with people at the moment are over Zoom. So they're all online. And people are having extraordinary experiences about connecting with self, feeling enlightened, feeling clear, feeling lighter when they came to the call triggered or frustrated or all sorts of different things. Yeah. So the skills are holding space, allowing time and space, guiding a meditation, just a breathing exercise. Can be simple, and then allowing people to feel how they're feeling. Yeah, that's probably the first few steps, Carly, of how to help people when they're triggered. You don't need to fix it for people. You just need to give them space so that they can have their feelings. Yeah. Hope that helps. And if you'd like me to go deep on that, Carly, you feel free to ask another question. Any tips when you're on the receiving end of this, when someone's triggered and has a toxic reaction? Yeah. And so it's the same. Checking in. Thank you, Natalie, for your question. Checking in to see, am I now triggered by this person's trigger, or am I staying present in myself? And then saying, actually, this isn't working for me right now. I'm going to remove myself from this situation. I'm really committed to having a conversation with you when the time is right, but right now it's not working for me. Yeah. So obviously I don't know the situation, but the words don't really matter. It's the state of presence that matters the most. Yeah. And so one of the, let me see what I can write. One of the foundations that I use in my programs is the framework of be, do, have. Right. So I'm a human being first. I'm a human being first. And our state of being is made up of our thoughts and our feelings. And if I can check in with that and check where I'm at, then the words that I say, if I'm aligned and present, then the words I say aren't as important. A lot of the leaders and managers ask me, and this is a mistake that leaders and managers make, is, yeah, but where do I start with this conversation? What are the words I need to say? And they try and get it right. That's the wrong place to start. The place to start is checking in on, how am I feeling? What are my thoughts? Am I present, or am I triggered, or am I distracted? And if I can generate and keep self-generating that state of presence, like I am here today with you, then the words that come out of your mouth will be perfect. And you can trust that. Yes. Brilliant. Hope that helps. Let me know. All right. Jazz says, echo the questions on how to support people when they're triggered. Let me know if that helps, both Natalie and Jazz, what I shared earlier. Powerful Friday the 13th, reconnection with powerful feminine energy. Awesome. All right. Great questions. Now, would anybody like to have a conversation? Let me know. I know a few people have had to, who let me know earlier that they could be here, but couldn't actually, excellent, Natalie, thanks. Who couldn't actually, jump on as a verbal conversation, but thank you for being here. All right. Okay, this is a great question. It's so easy to have an emotional response, yes. And by the way, our emotional responses are more heightened now because we've been stuffing the feelings down for so long. And so building and building and building and building and building, right? And because there's more coming at us now, yes, in the last 12 months, 18 months, the trigger points are just below the surface. They're not as deep down as they used to be because we've been filling up. And so our emotional reactions are going to be more disproportionate, more heightened, come out in more inappropriate times, right? And so that's where we need to practice self-compassion so we can practice compassion for others as well. Again, doesn't mean that behavior is okay, and we do call it out, but we can understand the story behind it. So the do, yeah. So the do are the words and actions. Jazz, thank you for the question. So the being is thoughts and feelings. The do are the words and actions, and the having are the results or the manifestations, let's say. So usually what human beings do is I go, if I do all the right things and I say all the right things, then I'll have what I want to have, and then I'll be the leader or the person or the partner or the sister or the brother I want to be, right? So we go on the doing train. So that's what we learn as part of the human condition, is to focus on our words and our actions, because that get results for a few decades, right? And then we get exhausted and go, oh, this isn't working so well. So then we realize, actually, I'm a human being. So instead of having the do, have, be, yeah, if I do all the right things, I'll have the results, and then I get to be who I want to be, successful, whatever, right? When we actually realize we're a human being, we go, actually, it's my thoughts that drive my feelings that then drive my actions. Yes. And so then the having comes last. That's kind of like a natural byproduct of who I'm being and then what I'm doing. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Yes. Okay. Helen, great question. How do you work through and explore the feeling of boredom? What does it? Okay, cool. Interesting question. How do I work through and explore the feeling of boredom? I'd love to hear more about that, Helen. Can you give me a little bit more in the chat box, and maybe we'll have a chat. Let me do this other one. So this question was, it's so easy to have an emotional response, and I find it takes time to reach a better space, a feeling of empowerment afterwards. Is there a way to get there sooner? Yeah. So the question from a past webinar is, yes, I have emotional response, but it takes me way long to get back to where my state of alignment. Is there a shortcut, Karen? And yes, well, there are shortcuts, and it takes practice. But the shortcut is one of my practices, and I think I shared with you, I said I'd share with you a little bit about what I do. And one of the things I wanted to share with you about what I do is the tuning in. So for me now, it's a way of being. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but because I've been practicing this work for a couple of decades now and been coaching for a long time, then there's a muscle that I've built. Yeah, like you've built the muscle of your expertise, same. And so it's a tuning into, right, more quickly when I'm off or when I've had emotional response. And then, so the tune in, where can I write here, guys, so you can see it? Yeah, so I tune in first. Yeah, I tune in. And then the second is I let myself feel. So this is helping you get back to a state of alignment sooner after you're triggered. Yeah. I tune in. Oh, I'm triggered. I can feel my body. Right. Okay. Can I give myself some space and feel it? That's the bit we don't do. Sure, I know I'm triggered. Well, big deal. What are you going to do about it now? Remember I said knowing is one thing. Shifting and being and transforming is a whole other thing. So I'm tuning in. Okay, I'm triggered. Now I'm giving my space to feel. I'm frustrated. I'm sad. I'm angry. Whatever, right? I feel let down. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. If you can give yourself, and that's what requires courage. And I promise you that's the bit we don't do. And then if you can get yourself back to a state of feeling and let that be for a bit, that you're going to, like I said before, instead of going over the top of, you're going to go through the feelings and you're going to get back to alignment much sooner. It sounds simple. It's not easy. It's a practice. And then that's where you'll find your clarity. All right. Hope this is helping. Let me know. Not feeling energized or motivated. Okay, Helen, let's jump. Do you want to jump up? Do you want to put your hand up? Do you want to have a chat? Too much same or numbing. Allowed to talk. Oh, did I choose the wrong person? I think I did. Sorry, Anne. Where's Helen? Helen, where are you? Feel free to talk amongst yourself, everybody, for a moment while I find Helen. Helen, would you like to put your hand up and have a chat?
Unmute.
Hello, Helen, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome to the call.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for hosting this afternoon. It's so cool to be able to connect in.
Yes.
I just have a comment, and maybe you've just answered this question actually,
Okay.
because maybe boredom is, for me, it's one of those it's just a label I give, I guess, is that to that state of being a bit frozen maybe, or not being motivated, not being energized. Sometimes I wonder, and maybe I'm overthinking it, whether it's about numbing to a situation that you just don't want to deal with.
Yes.
And I label it boredom.
So good. Yeah. And so if there's something that we're denying, like an experience or a feeling, and well, because, right, we can't, as Brene Brown says, we can't selectively numb. So we numb something, we're going to numb other things. So let's say we numb something that we don't want to look at, which means we're going to numb our vitality, our passion, our joy, which then could feel like boredom.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I think that's given me something to be really contemplative about. Thank you.
Yes, because if we're willing to have the courage to feel into that space, get the box out, open the box and go, okay, let me jump in the box and feel around there, right? That can be really excruciating. There can be some feelings in there that we've run from either for a long time or that have been really hurtful recently that we just don't feel like we can give ourselves, permission to go to. And so if we can find that, know that we are courageous enough, or understand maybe we need some support around that. Yeah. What is it? What would I need to be able to give myself permission to feel this?
Ah, okay. That's landed. Thank you.
Yeah. Helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you.
Anything else you want to share there?
No, that just kind of hit.
Yeah.
Karen, it just sort of had that feeling of, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Tell me in your words which part specifically hit for you.
It was the what if you, the feelings that you might have run from that are too painful?
Yeah.
That to what would it mean to give yourself permission to go to?
Yes. Yeah. What would that take? What would I need to be able to do that? Practicing self-compassion. What do I need around me? Yeah, because if it's deep and a lot, then we'll go there, and almost the reaction of going there can have us bounce back even further to lock it further away. Do you know what I mean? If it's too much or it feels too much at the time. And so how can I be gentle with myself and start to open to it and practice self-compassion and connection along the way?
Yes, bingo. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Good job. Love it. Thank you for sharing. I love, love, love this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for leaning in here and having a great Friday afternoon together. Now, let me see. I can see there's another question here. So, with all the opinions around at the moment, how do you not be triggered and listen without judgment, but stay true to yourself? Thank you, Tracy, for the question. So with all the opinions around at the moment, how do you not be triggered and listen without judgment? Yeah, has anybody felt like that? So it's just like, I was talking about this recently around, all the different beliefs, and how people are feeling around their friendship groups and family and what's expected of us, as someone who, we feel like we are the person that we are and who we are in society and our organization and community and family. So many of those things are being questioned, aren't they, in different ways, whether that's subliminal or explicit. And we can lose ourselves in that a little bit. And so, Tracy, what I would say, answer to your question, is be very discerning about what you let into your space and who you let into your space. And even if they've been people who have been around your life for a long time, you get to say, and yep, that can be difficult to let people go or to say, look, I love spending time with you, but I'm not willing to speak about that with you. I'm not interested in that conversation. Or when we go for a walk, can we speak about other things? And really hold true to that for yourself. And even you can even make it fun and say, hey, let's catch ourselves out. When we start to go down that track, let's pull ourselves back and talk about, let's give ourselves a safe word and interrupt that with each other. You get to hold that space for yourself. It takes courage and boundaries. But if you're not going to do that, who else will? This is for all of us. And I've done many of those things over the last number of years, and they can be really painful. But we get to say what we let in and not. Yeah. I hope that's helpful. Tracy, let me know if you've got further comments or questions about that. Okay. So we're heading into 4 o'clock. Wow. I hope this has been helpful. I've really loved being here with you, and I hope that you've had some of your questions answered today. Thank you for jumping on at short notice and for trusting that you really needed something today. Maybe a stop, pause moment, a reset. Maybe you trusted someone who shared the event with you. And thank you for trusting me and being here and giving yourself a bit of space to reconnect and hopefully feel empowered. I hope that you've taken something down, whether that's on your phone or in your notebook or your journal, and commit to something for yourself, like an intentionality. What's something for me from this call? If I just take one thing and I invest in myself a little bit more, what would that one thing be? All right, so I'd love to hear any of your comments in the chat box about what you're committing to yourself, your intention for yourself. I always read the comments later, and I love hearing what you got out of today, like what's the one thing for you, maybe what you're going to take back to your team. We'll be sending the recording out, so you'll have this available if you'd like to share it and create a conversation with your team on your next virtual meeting. So thank you so much for allowing me to live my dream and live my vision. And if I can support you in any way, please reach out. We're here to support you. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourself. Remember to nourish and replenish. I'll see you soon.